Hello again, everyone. We find ourselves once again in line for the now weekly episode of the Friday Daily level, which is always going to be one demanding level sets. So without further ado, let's get started. And this is actually an interesting time right now, the 30th of May specifically for with League of Legends, in particular because the just released actually yesterday was the basically on Thursday was they re-released One for All as a game mode, but with a slight twist because now it is specifically on the ARAM map with Howling Abyss, and it's now literally one for all, as in everybody is playing the same champion, all 10, rather than just the original just 5 on your team. So it's now a full. So basically, everybody picks a champion to start. You don't see what anybody else picked, but you start off, and then you basically start off just basically seeing like a summoner type picture for everybody, and then everybody just goes and picks their own champion, whichever they want, and whichever champion got picked the most is the one that every single person has to play. And interestingly enough, there's usually not that much of a majority. Very often, every single person picks a different champion. So what ends up happening there is the most picked champion. There's not usually a most picked champion, but it's just and because of that, it gets randomized from the standpoint of however many people picked. So let's say 10 people picked, and they all picked 10 different champions. Well, then every single champion that was picked has a 10% chance, whereas if two people pick the same champion, that champion would have a 20% chance of being picked. So it's a little bit interesting of a basically pick style for interest in the game, but it works very well for that kind of game mode, and specifically on the ARAM map, because it just works a lot from that standpoint. Although it's been interesting seeing what are all the champions that are getting used a lot in the early going, at least for this particular game mode, because it's not all what you would normally think of from the standpoint of playing a lot of Nelly, playing a lot of Lux. Yeah, those would be very popular, but a lot of the community just really doesn't want to play that, as it seems. So they just don't feel like getting locked into that kind of thing, which is somewhat understandable. I mean, it is a situation where having to play that particular champion constantly for the game mode could get annoying. So even though that's been kind of the way, I've been playing quite a few games so far of it, and interesting enough, I've never gotten the chance to play any of those champions, which I really would like to play in this new revamped One for All. I'd like to play a Nelly, I'd have to play a Lux, but I've never gotten the chance to do so. But interesting also is that there's a little bit less of people aren't really picking synergy champs as much that would have synergy with their clones, basically, which is a little bit interesting because that there's a lot of opportunities for that, specifically with champions like Cassiopeia, where one person puts a poison on, all of a sudden she can use her spells constantly. Now all that it has to do is land the poison once, or Raven with the axes. Although I have seen that seen people try and pick that more often than some of the other champions. That is something that I was expecting to see a little bit more of, maybe, because of the synergy with, I can catch my teammates' own axes, I don't have to catch my own axes. Things of that nature. It's interesting not seeing that kind of thing more than it already is. But you can't always have. It can't always be that way. But some of the interesting things too with that, because you're doing a one for all, is the synergy. It is synergy that you wouldn't necessarily expect. For example, Akali Twilight Shroud. If one person throws down a Twilight Shroud, every single Akali on that team can use it to be stealthed. So it opens up a lot of different openings for plays and different things here and there that you wouldn't normally have thought of beforehand because there was no reason to think of it. So it's interesting seeing different things like that pop up in these kind of game modes where you can explore facets of the game that necessarily weren't quite in the design, but are because of the game mode you can figure out stuff like, oh, I didn't realize that did that in this kind of situation once the availability for it to happen is actually there. So it's interesting seeing, it really is interesting seeing things like that pop up in a game that's been around for quite a while now and different things like that. Although a couple of things that I would like to try out in the new revamp one for all is just the interaction of like Twitch with his poison. How does that stack between people? Can another person trigger the contaminate? Different little idiosyncrasies here and there that you would never see in a regular game of League, but you can possibly see. So like the Twitch poison, the Velcon stacks, the Juani Frost, Anivia with the Ice Lance or whatever it is. I don't play much Anivia, so I don't remember the spell name. But just again, different things like that that you're not going to see, but except in this particular thing. Interestingly enough, while I'm actually still going through those, like Jace acceleration gate, does 5 Jace acceleration gates all boost the same shock blast? What else? Urgot's another one that's interesting to see just how that interaction would necessarily work in that kind of environment. Does the Acid Hunters auto lock on for every single Urgot? Or does it just the person who landed it? Again, just things like that make you kind of think, how is that supposed to work out? Or is that even supposed to work out? But one of the things that I did see, however, though, that I have gotten a chance to look at is Thresh with the souls is actually isolated person to person. So each person basically has their own souls to collect. So if you can't really collect a teammate's souls, you're really not fighting over collecting all the souls because they're all player specific in terms of you're not stealing souls from your teammates because they're all separate. So if you have different skins, because some of the souls, like Championship Thresh itself has more yellow looking souls instead of the bluer shade. So you can tell that, just by that the souls look a lot different because they're not all going to be the same exact thing. So there is a little bit of distinction there, so you can kind of tell that, okay, I'm not stealing my buddy's soul because he has his own. Different things like that. That just it's interesting to see that kind of design process go into it. I haven't gotten a chance of it. I haven't gotten a chance to play Twitch or Velcons or Sejuani or any of those yet. I just want to see how necessarily that interaction goes down between those champions, to where it's okay. Does that work with itself, or is it isolated from everything else and therefore can't be a possibility? Different things like that you can take away from particular game modes like this. Like, oh, if there somehow happened to be 5 Vel'Kozes in the game and they all queued one person, would that deal the extra damage? Will that deal the extra damage once and have an extra stack on there for another trigger, or is it just kind of sitting there by itself? And again, just things like that. They make you kind of look further into not really any play styles or anything like that, but just different aspects of the game that make you kind of scratch your head and go, how exactly does that work? So again, and that's why I was a big fan of ARAM when it first came out. It was kind of it became real heavy on towards poke fighting and poke battles and all that kind of stuff. But it's not only is it about dodging skill shots and all that kind of stuff. But it also provides a unique kind of standpoint from an aspect of team fighting, where no matter what the kind of game mode it is, there's still ways you can get something out of it from a gameplay standpoint, or just working on mechanics or whatever. Because I mean, even with Bjergsen, you've seen the video that he had that there was an Earth of him playing Earth on Zed. You can just see how much his mechanics of playing Zed has helps him out even in the game mode like that, where you don't think, okay, where you're just spamming abilities and all that kind of stuff out, where it doesn't really matter how good or bad you are at the game. And you see, if you really do have knowledge and mastery of a character, then it can make a whole bunch of difference from the standpoint of just the mechanics you have with the character still apply to game modes that, even though they're not necessarily standard, there's still something that provides that outlet to where you can still get something out of being very, very good with a particular character. And I mean, that's just the nature of how that kind of game works too. Is if you're good at something, then it should be able to translate over to something else that's similar, even if it's not identically the same. Okay. No? No. What I've done for the past few videos, when I've been doing these, is just running through the levels real quick, taking screenshots and having those in the background. But kind of didn't quite have the time to set that up today, and I just kind of want to get the recording over with. So I'm basically playing these levels blind, as I had been for like the set majority of the set walkthroughs that I did, videos of that nature. So not quite going to be as smooth in terms of the executional levels, but it gives you a little bit more insight into just how I go about solving them, rather than just, oh, I have it preset, I already know what I'm doing because I've done the level before, and I just kind of run through the motions of getting everything through because I already have the solution basically written down, as it were. There we go. Nope. That's one of the things that can be a little bit irksome for me. The only really issue I have with this in particular is I can't really. It's hard to tell what way you started from a standpoint of if you start from one endpoint or the other, and it can be hard to tell just exactly which endpoint you started on sometimes. And it doesn't really provide that much of an issue, except for the fact when you're going back through and you have to fix something that you did, or fix something with a line, and if you started from completely the other end, then you have to redo the entire line. And if you don't remember exactly what you did, then it could be a problem. But other than that, definitely enjoyed playing this game even now, even after completing all the different level sets, doing all these, still doing the daily sets. I mean, I'm up to like 500 some now. I think 504 at the start of today, so I'll be up to 509 out of 999. So a lot of time spent on this game, but time well spent. It's been fun. It's been a good ride. It's been enjoyable every second of playing the game. And so the games that have that kind of replay value are sometimes actually difficult to find, surprisingly, because especially for games that have like one main storyline, and then once the story is over, then there's not really much else to do. Games like that can kind of suffer, especially in a replayability value, because you don't really have. Once you beat the campaign, it's like, okay, what else is there? There's not much left. There's really not anything left for me to do with the game because it's just kind of over. I've done everything that there is to be done. So what's the point of continuing on? But even after all this time, the game doesn't get old. So actually 513. So there we go. Anyways, there is your weekly Friday level set walkthrough. And I'll see you next Friday for the next one.